Hello there, everyone. My name is Jimmy Mack, and welcome to the first academic podcast. This is going to be the NS3 textbook, Unit 5, Chapter 16, Introduction to Naval Weapons. Now, early naval battles usually took place at close range via ramming, boarding, or otherwise attacking head-on. Eventually, ranged weapons were developed to the point where gunfire could be used to attack ships at range. Further developments in naval ballistics as well as rifled barrels allowed for a range of up to 9 miles, which was the range at which the Battle of Jutland was fought at. Now, World Wars I and II are where naval weaponry really took off. We had the development of undersea warfare with submarines. We had the development of these forward-thrown projectiles called hedgehogs to deal with German U-boats. And we had, when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, we had the development of the use of aircraft carriers as the primary mode of naval combat, which is still the case today. Now let's get into some of the more important terms to talk about naval weapons. First off, ordnance is anything weaponry or weaponry related. You can break this down into explosive ordnance, which is anything that blows up, and inert ordnance, which includes the projecting devices such as guns or the launchers of explosives and anything you need to operate weaponry. All of the weaponry and ordnance on board a ship is called the ship's armament. A battery is a specific subset of that armament on the ship that's all of it of the same type. Gunnery is the art and science of using guns, whereas weaponry is the use of all ordnance as a whole. And finally, ballistics is about using projectile motion, which can be further broken down into interior ballistics, which is how the projectile performs inside its projecting device, such as the barrel of a gun, and exterior ballistics, which concerns how it behaves once it's on its way. Now, since we're talking about the military here, they definitely need to be able to get and install their weapon systems, and that takes place at 3 levels. That's going to be the Department of Defense at the top, then below that there's the Department of the Navy for everything related to the Navy, and then the individual weapons department of whatever we're talking about in particular. Now, if you're a ship that's mainly concerned with fighting, you're going to have a combat systems department with a combat systems officer, and if you're an aircraft carrier, you'll have a weapons officer. But if you're not mainly concerned with fighting, for example, if you're an auxiliary ship, you're going to have your deck responsibilities take precedence. Now, by the end of World War II, guns had only achieved a range of about 20 miles. Since then, we've achieved massive improvements in the range that we can achieve with our weaponry. At the extreme, we've got intercontinental ballistic missiles, which can literally go from continent to continent. And that means that naval weaponry and warfare is suddenly a lot more significant in terms of overall strategy. Now, the types of weapons that a ship has is highly dependent on what its mission is. So if you're a cruiser escorting, say, an aircraft carrier, you're going to have a balanced mix of weapons for anti-aircraft, surface warfare, and undersea warfare so that you can handle whatever you're attacked with. If you're like a dock landing or amphibious landing type ship, you're really only going to have self-defense weapons because you're not really meant to be attacking on your own. You're going to be carrying troops and vehicles. And if you're a small vessel, you're going to have surface-to-surface missiles and guns for attacks against other ships. In all of this, the 2 important concepts to keep in mind are area defense and point defense. Area defense is for when you're trying to provide defense from a far distant formation of ships, and it's for attacks that can cover a large area and extend some distance away. This is contrasted with point defense, which is self-protection for a single unit. This is pretty close range. It's like a small defensive perimeter. So in area defense, you're going to see cruisers, destroyers, and littoral combat ships. But for point defense, you're going to have combatant ships and auxiliaries with that kind of armament. So I've talked a lot so far about weapon systems, so I should probably define what they are. A weapon system is the combination of a weapon, which is what you're going to use to do killing, and the method by which you're going to get it to an enemy to do that killing. So, a weapon system for a ship or an aircraft, really anything, as a whole, needs to include First off, something to find and identify an enemy. Second off, something to deliver the hurt to the enemy. So, like, the gun will deliver a bullet to an enemy, or a launcher will deliver a missile to an enemy, right? And then you're going to need a fire control system to, like, guide that weapon. So, like, rifling will guide the bullet to its target, and the computer tracking system will deliver a missile to where it's supposed to be. And then the final aspect you need is a destructive payload that is capable of doing damage to the target. Now, the effectiveness of this weapon is highly determined by accuracy, because most of the time you're attacking something that's moving, and sometimes your target is also moving, like if it's an aircraft. So we need our weapon systems to work extremely well all the time. And in terms of making this happen, we have two questions that must be effectively addressed. The first one is, what is this system or component supposed to do? And the second one is, how well can it do it? This first question, what is it supposed to do, is called the military requirement. And a statement of military requirement can be range, rate of fire, accuracy, really anything that describes what a thing does. And the second concerns some general requirements that apply to anything that we need, whether it be like radar or a gun or any supplementary systems. And those requirements are reliability and flexibility, which means that it needs to work well even if some components fail. We need safety, which means the operator of the system is not at any risk. We need simplicity of operation, because if you need a PhD to use a gun, then it's not a very good gun. And we need maintainability, so that we can make sure that our weapons continue to function for a while. And those requirements pretty much apply to any weapon that we want to accept into the fleet. As technology has improved, we've been able to use more and more computer equipment and eventually develop a total weapon control system. The weapon control system can pretty much coordinate all of the information that a ship has, as well as all of its weapon batteries. And this has allowed the commanding officer to be relocated in a fight from the bridge to the Combat Information Center, or CIC, as the most effective location to direct batteries and fight an enemy. Now, on our Aegis cruisers and Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, we've equipped them with Aegis, which is our most sophisticated shipboard weapon control system that we have. It provides area air defense, and has a whole bunch of really cool stuff that it can do. In particular, it can do a whole bunch of tracking, and it can coordinate batteries amongst all of the ships in a company, meaning that they all pretty much act as one in a combat setting, allowing for really unified fighting tactics. Now, aircraft have their own weapon control systems as well. These are called avionics. In particular, the F-35 Lightning, a joint strike fighter, has the most advanced array of weapons-related sensors and other tech on any aircraft that we have. It's becoming the main strike fighter on Navy aircraft carriers and amphibious assault ships. And its avionics have pretty much the same capabilities as like the Aegis system, in that it's really good at detecting other stuff going on and coordinating multiple aircraft at the same time. That's pretty much it for this chapter. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow.